think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust.
One thing I was doing on vacation, I went and saw Weapons in the theater.
Okay, that's
Fantastic
the barbarian.
experience. Yes.
What's
Zach
that, without
Krieger.
spoiling things for the audience or whatever, like what's the basic plot? What's the idea? Like
The
or
basic
maybe what's
idea,
the
the basic
idea?
plot.
What's the minimum you can tell us? Yeah.
You'd find this in the trailer. A whole
Okay.
class of kids has disappeared. They just all walked out of their houses one evening. There's like cameras on the doors recording them like going through the town, disappear. No one knows where they are. The teacher is under suspicion. And it's just sort of like like the whole movie is like that mystery. It's a very compelling mystery. I really like the way that Krieger tells a story. There's it's not a horror comedy, but there are comic chops to it that make it really funny at times. And he came from a comedy troupe called The Whitest Kids You Know. They were not bad. But that, like, the way that he constructs a scene is like sketch-com in some ways, like applied to horror. And it's interesting. Yeah, I really like it. And the one of the few movies I've watched recently where the like seeing it in theater enhanced it. Like everyone was on this vibe. Like the parts that were like scary, funny, like the shocks, like just like the collective relief, like just like the sort of like knowing laughter at like something just like fucking crazy happening was all just like you really thought that you were part of something. Yeah.
You know what? A gentleman I work with suggested it pretty highly.
It's great.
And I
didn't know. Okay. I didn't know it was going to be great. I thought it might be like I liked Longlegs a lot. I thought it was a really like good ride. I don't think that movie came together in the end, and I was like, "Is this going to be this year's Longlegs?" The last 15 minutes really come together, it was.
I'm sorry.
I think really highly of it.
Sorry, I thought the weapons person was the barbarian person, but they're not.
You're
right.
No, sorry. Person? Yeah. I'm just drawing a separate. I'm drawing a separate comparison. Just like sort of like a hype movie for the summer. That was like just like really stylish, really kind of interesting. Had a lot of buzz. Yeah. That's where I'm going with that.
Okay, fair. All right, so it's the long legs that could.
Yes. Yeah. That sticks the landing.
Okay. All right. Well, that's cool, man. I went to go see the Ethan Cohen. Sorry, I was going to say Nathan Cohen. Honey Don't with Margaret Qualley and Aubrey Plaza.
Right.
And I can't say it's a good movie, but it was funny and dark. I didn't think it was like the audience wasn't really laughing, but I was really enjoying it. It had a sort of dark comedy that I enjoy. And Margaret Qualley is fucking dynamite to look at. And it's part of a him and I can't think of the Cohen's wife.
Frances
Can't do her name. No. It's like Tracy Cook or something like that. I get maybe it's a new partnership. I don't know his marital history or whatever. But anyway, it's movies that they're doing together, and they're calling it the lesbian B movie cycle. The first one was Drive Away Dolls, which I really liked. This one less so, but it had a similar sort of vibe. It had sort of a neo-noir, absurdist neo-noir. Chris Evans was in it. He wasn't that funny, but there was a scene, no spoilers, where he like wipes off his dick with a rag and smells it and throws it to the ground while standing there nude, and I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh.
I just thought that was a nice touch. I don't even know if I thought it was funny, but I was like, wow, you don't see that every day.
The only time I've even heard of anything like that was in The Interview.
In The Interview, which
with
I don't know what that is.
Seth Rogen and James Franco when they interviewed.
They go to North Korea.
Kim Jong-un. Yeah, there was a joke.
I don't remember
to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you may not want to.
Been a while since I've seen that one. That must have been like 10 years ago.
Yeah. James Franco's been on the out.
That's too bad. You know what's on the in though, guys?
The best creeps.
Yeah. Speaking of creeps on the in, Alien Earth. How you? So okay, 3 episodes have come out. We were obviously this isn't an episode about Alien Earth, but like just some thoughts. And we'll take it like week by week if we can. I'll say something I liked, which or I thought was interesting. At first, it was both interesting and aggravating, which I guess is the thing that this show does to me. Is the opening of episode 1 was a shot-for-shot fucking remake of Alien, like down to like the fade outs and stuff and the way they're eating, and I was like, doing this, and they set up this whole cast, and I actually thought it might be kind of interesting. I hadn't read anything about the show at all, but they're just like summarily executed and like scattered everywhere, and I just like for that purpose, I'm like, why did you do that? But at the other hand, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, one of the other little things was the fact that the only person that survived was a cyborg that was in hyperspace sleep for almost 70 years that somehow is more technologically advanced than everything else they have. That doesn't make a whole fucking lot of sense.
Yeah, the way he, again,
well,
we don't need to go.
He's a Captain Hook analogy like that. There was somebody that like dumbed it in the last episode on a Reddit post, and they were like, "Oh, Wendy hears the ticking of the crocodile's clock, and Captain Hook's trying to groom the kids." And I was like, "Fuck off! That is embarrassing and sad."
True. It's true. I hadn't thought of it to that extent, but I guess yeah.
Yeah, when if you really want to really dumb it, that's really embarrassing. So.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Yeah, sorry.
I'm liking it. The thing I don't like is the varying. I think it's going to struggle with this the whole time. The varying power level of the alien, like scene to scene.
Yeah.
It who knows what you're going to get or whether it's going to be absolutely lethal. The thing I really like, but I think I've said this in our episodes, like the alien's just there to drive the plot. To me, the real interest is what they do with the synthetics, and in this case, cyborgs, and like there's just like, I don't want to say too much about it, but it's like, let's just think of all the different ways that things could be part machine and part man, and I enjoy that exercise, so I'm curious to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, the thing is, like, me too. Obviously, I find myself wanting to. I do like this synthetics versus consciousness uploads versus this. Different types of transhumanist philosophy are basically interacting with each other in the form of kingdoms, and that's kind of neat. But like on the one hand, that's kind of neat, and then on the other, what the fuck does that have to do with the Alien franchise? Like. I know they've already like cooked an egg on the moon or whatever. So like, what else are you going to do with the goddamn franchise? You might as well do this. But we'll see. I am concerned that some of like the sort of political choices that Ridley and O'Bannon and all the makers of the original Alien movie, like, I get the sense that shit's not going to get honored in this series. That's not required. Getting back to Man of Steel and whatnot, but it's kind of something you want to see at least. If this person's shooting for the moon and recreating actual scenes from the original Aliens, like you'd feel, feels a little more of a betrayal, I guess. But time will tell. Time will tell on that one.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think the idea of like cooking the kids, like, mirror consciousness over to like robot bodies and having the AIs like sort of reject and take over with just like sort of smattered memories is like a gross, weird exercise, and I think that started to like flush out in the last episode, so that should be fun. Alien aside, but I think we're gonna get our aliens.
Oh yeah.
I it's just a sort of a time thing. The alien power level is kind of funny. Like they're using him more as a, I don't know, like you were saying, Chris. It's just sort of an exercise in like, yeah, there he is. Oh, he's running around the background. I was at no point was I scared of him.
Cameos, yeah.
He was having fun He's just there. He's one of the guys, you know.
Yeah, not like that eyeball tentacle creature, which I thought was very grim when it just comes out of Jonesy's eye.
And then jumps on that kid robot and just starts to claw her eye out. Yeah. When that thing finally gets a hold of a human, I think it's going to be pretty fucking gross.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess all in all, we all sort of see the same things and get different mileage out of the same things. And I'm going to tune in. And I think once it's all done, let's maybe have an episode to kind of recap it or something like that. Or maybe let it sit for a month. I don't know. I guess we'll see what our schedules are at the time. But
make us do, yeah.
Yeah.
Stranger Things coming up too. Yeah, big time.
I'm not going to be doing that.
I know that's not your thing. That's
no, definitely not.
We know that's
pure nostalgia, pure fan service. Not going to be for James.
No dice.
However,
yeah, okay. Were you about
one form of nostalgia?
Yeah, huh?
Oh boy.
What would we call this form of nostalgia? Maybe that's like what our conversation is going to be about today.
That's how I see it going. Yeah.
Yeah. So, one type of nostalgia that one could explore and discuss, we here at the X-tinction Agenda are going to discuss today. Little something called the Grand Budapest Hotel. And I forgot to introduce you guys here on the X-tinction Agenda with James.
And Chris.
The most Wes Anderson of all of us.
I'll take that.
That's yeah, okay. Well, yeah, why not, man?
It might be true.
Yeah. Okay, so why are we doing the Grand Budapest Hotel? Because I watched the most recent Wes Anderson movie, The Phoenician Scheme, and I thought it was one of his best. But because I was surprised that it was one of his best because I hadn't liked the last two outings. Was it Astronaut City? I think it's and The French Dispatch. I really despise The French Dispatch. I was just like, no, this can't be happening. And James, in your in the way that you are and you do, you were like, isn't it the case that he wasn't ever any good? Something to that effect, and I was like, no. Yeah.
Or isn't it the case that he just recycles his same shit?
Right.
Something like that. But yes, that he wasn't same idea, I guess.
Sure. So, I was like, well, okay, we're gonna have to. I did consider doing a whole month of Wes Anderson movies, but I was like, no. Even I don't want to fucking do that. But I thought I'd pick one that you hadn't seen yet. The Grand Budapest Hotel.
This is an Oscar winner too.
Did it walk home with the Oscar? I know it got the music got an Oscar. I
don't know which Oscars, but it says it won 4.
Okay, cool. I know music's one of them. I don't probably costume design and all the
best motion picture of the year. No, really?
Oh, what? Grand Budapest won that year?
Oh, nominee. Yeah,
it was a nominee. Yeah.
Winner, costume design, hair and makeup, and
as long as American Beauty won the Oscar once, you can't tell me that I have to care about what the Oscars
I agree
say about anything. But however, when they give you an Oscar for costume design and stuff like that, when the studios the actual when it comes down to the technical stuff, it feels like a more legitimate award. And then the rest of it is just pageantry and a chance to look at Jack Nicholson slowly decay on camera year after year.
Lord.
So this one, Wes Anderson with the assistance of what is his fucking name? Hugo Guinness or something like that. Who did art and stuff for earlier productions. I think actually I don't remember, but any earlier productions and yeah, I don't know, Chris. I'm certain you've seen this because it was on your favorite movies list. Am I right about that? Or
you're right about that. Yeah, I'm a Wes Anderson fan. At least this is the movie that sort of capped along with just the intensive thing of having 2 kids. Haven't seen any of his movies other than his kids' movies after this. So I'm gonna have to get caught up there. But I love this movie. it's just such an onslaught of charm. It really holds up well. I'd say Royal Tenenbaums is still my all-time favorite, but this is a close second for me.
Yeah, and probably the same. Although I like Rushmore is very solid as well, but it's not this sort of formalist. It's very formalist, but it's not like this. You know, it's not like you get with the Royal Tenenbaums. And then once you get to the Life Aquatic, things are right off the rails in terms of like what Anderson's going to do with the movies. You know, in terms of like his
Creating a
aesthetic.
world.
Yeah. James, so you know, we already got spoilers on this one. You liked it.
I went in as negative as anyone could go into anything. Saw the immediate aesthetic. Probably, I won't lie to you guys either. I gave it 1 minute 39 seconds. I stopped it, and I gave it another 24 hours because I was like, "Fuck off, Wes Anderson." And then I went back in, and I was pretty wowed. It's funny. It's charming. Now I have the only thing is here, Ralph Fiennes is responsible for all of this. Though I don't know that anyone supporting was really doing anything except for Zero and Ralph Fiennes. They're because it's a focus on their bromance, right? Everyone else was sort of like doing these like stoogey, oh brother, we're out there things, sort of I don't know, smarmy, charmy shit. You know, there was just sort of like a hoopla of cameos and silliness, which is fine because the core emotion you drew from Mr. Gustav and Zero anyway. So anyway, I just it was very funny. It was funny. I don't want to admit it. It was just I don't know. But I was so well shot. Fuck. Like, how can you be mad at it? You can't.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Whereas, and I think this is one of the, and we're not talking about this movie, but whereas like the French Dispatch, there was no Ralph Fiennes at the center of it. You know, like there was no. Usually, the best of the Wes Anderson movies will have a core relationship, you know, at the center of the story, and if you're into it, then it's going to carry the whole story, and if you're not into it, then you know it's going to kind of fall flat. This one, yeah, like I in the same way that the French Dispatch didn't have like any of that stuff. It had way too many characters. Just like it was just full aesthetic. I felt it. The Royal Tenenbaums, you know, like go ahead.
I was just looking at this picture of Tilda Swinton with like fucking milky eyes.
Right.
All disgusting. And he was wooing those old fucking women. And I think I have to watch it again because he said some really gross shit about just betting old women. And it went over your head. Like I did a double take a couple times. I was like, what the fuck did he just say? And I didn't rewind it. I just sort of kept going. But yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, it's not the same thing, but Royal Tenenbaums, like Gene Hackman largely makes that movie. Just in a sort of in a similar way where he's just like says these things. But yeah, like when he's on the train, Monsieur Gustav, and he's talking about like he slept with her. He was like, she was 95 and she was dynamite in the sack, by the way. And then he talks about like it's when you're younger, it's all filet mignon. But you know, I later on in life, you realize you need the cheaper, and I prefer them. They're tastier. You know, that kind of thing. And it's just delivered so dryly and
so matter of fact.
No, yeah, well, I guess it is matter of fact. Yeah, yeah.
And it's just in passing too. It's just.
Yeah, I love when he goes to the funeral and he sees her and he's like, "Oh, you look better than you've looked in years. You did a great job with your makeup." Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
What cream do they use down there? Because I want some. Yeah, there's something like. He oscillates wildly between like this poetic put on this performance thing that Monsieur Gustav does, and then every once in a while, like she was shaking like a shitting dog, you know, that kind of thing. He has this explosive vulgarity to him that
Yeah.
just it like Ralph Fiennes just rides that line perfectly.
I think it's all authentic though too, because chief to Mr. Gustav's character is his ability to put people at ease and to be like like a legendary concierge and just sort of like know what people need. So like even like as he's lecturing Zero and saying like, rudeness is just a manifestation of people, like their fear that they're not going to get what they want. But if you treat them with patience and kindness, then they'll open like a flower. Like it's just like this worldview of service is key to him too. So like he has his like behind the scenes opinions, surely, but he's never going to show that to be only other people of maybe the service class that like that would understand. Yeah,
and perhaps only Zero. Right?
Yeah,
like we don't know. We don't necessarily see him having those conversations. No. Because when I was going to use the example of when they're getting Boy with Apple, and the rest of this stuff is useless junk, and I thought Serge was there, the other servant, but he wasn't. It was just him and Zero.
Yeah. So in the confession, there's a bit of connection between Serge and him, though. Yeah. They killed my only family. No, who this time?
So one of the things that is tough about a movie like this is that it is Ralph Fiennes, right? And you just kind of think about the performance of Ralph Fiennes in that scene, but the rest of the time, you're talking about how everything looks, right? Like Anderson is a filmmaker that I don't think about a lot, except. Sorry, I'm just repeating myself. I thought I had additional things to say about that, like except about the characters or whatever, about like the performances of certain individuals. And the arrangements, like when I think of The Life Aquatic, I don't think about the boat scene and the little cartoon fish and stuff like that. I have to force myself to remember that stuff happens. But I'll remember Bill Murray, being really depressed or whatever. Which what else does Bill Murray do with a character? But and so it's like it's a sort of film. It's a film that isn't helpful to conversation. It is maybe very helpful to like a video essay format or something like that. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, obviously, like I'm not saying there's nothing to say, but there's just not. It's not a film of ideas. I don't think any of it. It was the one thing I liked about the finishing scheme because it felt suddenly, all of a sudden, like a movie that was about an idea for the first time in Wes Anderson's career. Don't tell me what that idea. Don't ask me what the idea was. I'm not quite sure, but I just felt there was something more there. So what's this movie about? If we're gonna try to go down that path just for a second.
But I honestly, it was about the. I don't know. It was a little bit about nostalgia, I guess. He holds on to Zero holds on to like a nostalgic thing of his past, and it's important because I guess sort of his best love bromance came from that, So and then it's about the love between two men, I guess.
Yeah.
Really, to me, it was
Agatha's
anyway,
in the
more
mix.
than anything else.
Yeah.
Not in that way.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Brokeback Mountain kind of way, but
yeah.
But in it was I don't know, but I do pick up on a lot of what you're saying because like I'm thinking like Jeff Goldblum was wonderful. The Deputy Kovacs character was hilarious. He was floundering around, and then had that Joplin character that Willem Dafoe was. I don't think that was like I'm not going to call that one of the high points of his career, but I did find myself like snickering a lot, like that this fucking weird psychopath like family like murderer guy was sort of following everyone around. But you say, it wasn't about anything. It was like a slapstick almost. A lot of it.
Yeah. It lacks sort of. It is a comedy, but it's not like a classic comedy in that like there's a happy ending. at the end. Like this does not have a happy ending, and it is ultimately like Zero at the end, like you said, James. Zero Mustafa, 1968. He's the owner of the Grand Budapest. Spoilers on a movie from over a decade ago. And he's a broken down old man, and he's sad, right? And he's lost all of his, but he kept the hotel because it was so important to him because all these things happen. And sorry, I don't know, Chris, if there was something that you'd want to say in any of that.
Yeah, just to tie into that idea of nostalgia. Like, I think it's important that the film takes place in this sort of like Russian doll of narratives, like in frames. It starts off with this woman in the present visiting a monument to the writer who has written the story, and then it flashes back to that the writer kind of like giving the context of like how he came by the story of the Grand Budapest Hotel, which then flashes to the historical setting, and in there's sort of like the interview with the writer, like everyone's work from home experience during the pandemic, like don't throw it, getting interrupted by his kids. So like there's like 4 different frames, like, and each of them they're sort of like reaching back to the past to try to find something of value there, like just sort of like something that the present isn't really providing, I would say. But anyway, sorry, yeah, that does sort of like abstractly.
No. I think there is something in there that is worth commenting on that I pulled from the Wikipedia, and I see it now. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. He uses 3 different aspect ratios for the image. So he uses like an old school 1930s aspect ratio for the 1932 bits. He uses a slightly larger one for the 1936. He definitely has a different. Sorry, I think I wrote this down wrong, but he definitely has one that is very, very different for the 1968 scenes. The elder Zero is telling his story to Jude Law. It's filmed on an anamorphic lens that is appropriate for 1968. If you look at those images, they're curved. They have a slight curvature to them, and it fills the whole frame. And then it shrinks, and then it
You're right.
Yeah. And once you see the curvature, you're like, oh fuck! And then like it's period authentic, I guess is you're just like, that's why this, like, that's one of the reasons, like, I find myself like there's so much to say, but it's something that you need to kind of look at and see, because that's what this guy does. Like his content. And this isn't like a brand new insight on anyone, but I mean, it's one of those situations where like the aesthetic is the message almost.
Yeah, the formalism is important, and that is why this is probably his masterpiece. Is it all just kind of comes together, and like I think it's intrinsically linked.
The various.
The way it's shot, the sort of like architecture as meaning, almost like the like the decline of the hotel ties into that idea of nostalgia and searching for like the spirit of the place, which is Gustav, of course.
Yeah, it is, and tying into that sort of fascism, it's not what I would think of mostly as a toxic fascism. It almost inoculates itself by making the poison fascism. This movie isn't engaged in, because you can have your member berries, like your South Park thing, where, because in my opinion anyway, a certain cultural nostalgia contributes to the rise of fascist impulses and of a sort of decline of civilization or whatever. This movie is like, but there is a pure nostalgia, one that is absent from that is human, right? Because nostalgia is a real human fucking thing. But then when it becomes like sort of commodified, and then it fucking turns sickly and turns into like a tool of manipulation. But like there still is at this core this thing that is being manipulated, and it is our heart, right? And this movie and all good Wes Anderson movies, like I miss the characters when they're done. Like it feels like finishing a great novel.
Yeah.
And and which is like, it's so fitting at the end of this one. Like she literally, and I was like, I feel you. Like I know that fucking feeling. I felt it like a few times, but you get to the end of something and you're sad, but you also feel like you mourn a little bit. And that's the feeling. That's the nostalgia. That's at the, that is got at in movies like this.
Yeah, I think Anderson in general, I think that like that sense that James had of like, was he ever good? I think that owes a lot to the pretenders and the sort of like the people who have latched on to Anderson's style. That sort of like quirk for quirk's sake, which can be infuriating. I think particularly the movie Little Miss Sunshine. I hate that movie, and I just felt like it was like very much aping, what he was trying to do without like really
It's a
getting
good example.
Which I think is like with Anderson, like there is, and James, you said this in like when you were talking about your response to the movie. There, he gets to a real emotion, and in this, it's that relationship between Gustav and Zero. But like it feels like in his best movies, there really is this deep sort of sadness that is at the core of it. And I think you're like, as you were kind of alluding to, like with the like, it's not using, it resists nostalgia at the same time as it holds up nostalgia. And I think of in Milan Kundera's novel, The Unbearable Lightness of Being, it opens and he's talking about how like he was looking back at photos of World War II, and he started suddenly feeling just this sort of like this wistfulness, like he just wished he could have been there again. And he's like what is this about? He realized it was just that he wanted to be young again. Like it wasn't really, had nothing to do with the war. It's just that feeling of wanting to get back to the past. I think that that's sort of like what this, particularly I think this movie recognizes that you can't go back, and it just kind of gives you like, there are these little pockets of, even Fine says that on the train, like, there are little pockets of civility like everywhere. He creates that at the Budapest hotel, and that's what Zero's looking for his whole life, but it's never going to happen again. But maybe like I think there's a core humanism to Anderson's films too, and I think that like that humanism, as bleak as it is, like maybe you can find some new experiences that are going to pass you by if you're lucky, and you can kind of maybe hope to salvage something.
Yeah, I don't know. I just never got the impression that there's ever a point other than to just feel the feeling.
Hey, and it's funny. Because you got, like, I felt like the Mustafa character, like the aged Zero or whatever, was happy in his hotel, even though it once was. So I don't know. I don't know if I maybe picked that up a little different or misread it, or
well, we're hearing him tell the story, and he does tell, but like his introductory moment is like, we've never, this was a hotel full of solitary people, and this guy comes in and they're like, whoa, that guy's fucking alone.
Yeah.
Right. And so he's perceived as very, very sad, but I mean, like, that's what nostalgia is, this core of happiness in memory that one keeps. And what he's done is sort of entombed himself to an extent in like a tribute to that feeling. He let that go. And
even the mention of Agatha, he can't hold his emotions together even at that stage. The line I would set my interpretation on is in the very end, when Zero is summing up, he said about Fiennes, quote, his world has vanished long before he ever even entered into it, but he certainly sustained the illusion with remarkable grace. So like there's never like what you're looking for, it never actually existed.
But
so, like,
contained within that
person.
Contained within that though is like the idea. How I heard that is not that that world didn't ever exist. That world actually did exist. Like it is. I took it as like, civilization is actually this human thing, and it used to exist at some point. I don't know what that point would be. Like, because he really harkens back to like a fundamental servitude of like the, let's say, 18th century or something like that. Is that what's being? Anyway, that's how I took it, and I was like,
I think
it's
it is something
probably
that he
reading
wants.
is much better.
He wants to generate. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and there's a sort of like, there's sort of dandyism of Gustav, and like I think one of the funniest things in the movie is like how he can never like recite 2 lines of poetry without being interrupted, even though he like desperately wants to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that kind of, I guess it just depends on how you read it. Yeah, because I hear that, and like that feels like something that he is aiming for an 18th, 17th, 16th century sort of idealized worldview. Which, like Zero has an authorial voice in that he's telling the story, but that doesn't mean like he actually knows what the fuck's going on. Within that universe. He too is sort of romanticized the past through the figure of Monsieur Gustave. He gave him the best possible reading in order to, I don't know, shine light on his departed friend.
That is possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the Adrian Brody character. It made me laugh too, Dimitri.
You don't usually hear. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I just thought he was hilarious. It was so he was an SS officer, right?
Yeah. And so, and that gets back to like the fascism thing and like the family. Usually in a Wes Anderson movie, family is a very important thing. It's something that you like strive to return to. And in this, family is poison. It's more like the bad guys from Fantastic Mr. Fox. Like that's what these guys are. But like, what if they were also part of the SS?
Yeah, this builds an alternative family, where co-workers and emotional connections can be more important lifetime bonds than family. So I don't know. I just thought there was a couple little clever things there, and I thought like one of the for me the most emotional scenes in the movie were the two train incidences where they tried to arrest Zero. Yeah. They were replayed. There was replayed, and that was Mr. Gustav's death. But it was also I don't know. The first one was also like emotional, the most emotional moment. I thought. I don't know. That's sort of where everything peaked. But
I rewatched those scenes, in preparation for the conversation, like just I don't know, like an hour ago, and there is like that moment of eye contact. He doesn't know Zero at all. Actually, no, he's been with Zero for like a month at that point, and they've built a bond. But we don't actually see the emotional bond until the emotion, like the arrest. Like, you get the best of all the worlds in this because Ralph Fiennes is being slammed against the wall, and he's like, "You filthy goddamn pockmarked fascist asshole."
Well, you're also laughing, right? But you can feel the heightened tension.
Yeah. Let go of my lobby boy, and then zoom in to the eyes of Zero, and then to the eyes of Ralph Fiennes, and there's real emotion and concern in that space, and then cut, right? And the audience sees it. Everything you need to know is suddenly like, that's the bond. That's the moment of bond for the audience. And then we move on from there. So yeah. And then of course it does get repeated at the end, but it doesn't have the same, the civilization doesn't overcome the moment, it becomes the slaughterhouse of that Gustav talks about in that first scene. Because he tries the same thing, and then I love that they don't show his execution. They killed him in the end, or how did they fucking put it?
Yeah, that was pretty well. Yeah. I think they moved on to him back into the narrating.
Yeah. He says, in the end they shot him, so it all went to me, and that's the end of the story. And
yeah. And there was that promise of like the by the time you inherit it'll be a collection of poetry, and then whatever we don't spend on whiskey and
Hookers.
whores.
Yeah.
Such a good line.
Yeah.
Never
Which
got to
like
do
there's something about that there's something about the vulgarity in this particular Wes Anderson movie that you tend not to see prior, and you see some of that with Gene Hackman. I keep bringing him up, but I mean, like, some of the things he says, that grizzly, that whoa. But this one's really like when Adrian Brody comes out, like, what's that fruit doing here? And just the swearing and the sparks of actual violence that, and they have a car chase, they have a gun, they have a shootout. It really, it stands out as something a little unusual in a style. And this is the other thing I wanted to say, that, like, I fucking hate the French New Wave. I hate like almost all the influences on Wes Anderson's work. Like, it actually kind of surprises me how much I like Wes Anderson. I hate this fucking aesthetic generally. Like, all the twee element of it. When people dismiss Wes Anderson off, like, I don't blame anyone. I don't blame a fucking single human person on earth who's just like, look, they just do, he does that's cute. It's cute, right? And it is. Like, it altered at the end, it just ultimately it feels like it just adds up like a layer of cuteness. And so that you get certain movies that just kind of completely fall flat because but he's aware of all of it in interviews and stuff. He's like, some people don't think it takes you out of the movie. I'm going to do it anyway, and, like, I don't know, audiences can't be totally wrong because he keeps making movies. People keep putting money into it.
Yeah, it's a specific, like, there's a kind of person, even Wes Anderson is that kind of person, that feels like, because he's doing that kind of camera work and aesthetic, that the movie's smarter and that he's smarter and that they're smarter, and it can feel not nice. I don't know if that makes sense.
But the funny thing is like, it's such a, like, I think, getting back to what I said about Wes Anderson, like, he's not a filmmaker of ideas. Like, and even in interviews, again, he doesn't have ideas. He doesn't talk about how the movie's supposed to be about something. When people tell him his movies are about something, he just kind of listens, thinks that's interesting.
Just sort of the frame itself, like the like what the author says. People think that writers have ideas going on all the time, but in reality, people just bring you stories once they know that you're a writer. That's sort of like a mission statement, you'd say. Yeah,
well, it does actually. What I hadn't made that connection, but that it's possible. Yes, that's the authorial voice sort of coming through.
Well, there is like a piece of this too that, like, I'm looking at the promotional material, like, just sort of in this like IMDb like art gallery where they've got like the posters and the perfume there to punch, whatever. That fucking makes me laugh too. But even the packaging for his movies in general and the artwork that's involved is like kind of special. It's not like I'm buying Thor or Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm getting real artwork here from somebody who's put their heart and soul in their artistry and aesthetic. And there's something to say about that, and there's a skill he has that other people don't. So that's a whole. That's, like I said, something negative about that exact thing.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of table it in that light also, I
think the relationship, because there does feel something smarmy about it, because if you asked me right now why I think there's something smarmy about it, because, like, it ultimately flows from the New Yorker. Like the New Yorker, like those covers of the New Yorker and the New Yorker cartoons and stuff like that, and probably, like, I wouldn't know, but probably even the writing and, like, the magazine. The magazine, it's such an important source. Not, I don't know if important, but, like, it is there, right? Like, it's been there from the beginning. It's been there always. It hasn't changed. And the New Yorker's not a magazine for fucking everyday Joes. It's for a very particular type of individual, university trained individual, has cultural references and is interested in this, that, and the other thing, and has leisure time to read a magazine which is why I don't read the New Yorker, because I'm like, whoa, this is way too much. I can't even touch this goddamn thing. It just stacks up pointlessly. And I do feel that, like, within the culture wars, you're inviting people to pick up on those signals, those unconscious signals, and and to kind of just discard you as a consequence.
At the same time, if you make a virtue of those sorts of, I mean, like, my cards on the table. I have an English degree. I like romanticism. I like it's sort of like engagement with art, like Renaissance art and things like that. I totally get what you're saying. It is like, it's a search for some kind of world where those things are valued, which is not our world. Like, that's for sure. So yeah, it is going to come across as at a step of the time. But I think for me, at least for myself, the authentic, like, there's sort of the real quality of seeking it. I don't think that it's put on. I think that there is something that, and it shows, I guess, too, in the fact that him and his writing partner went just so deep into the writing of Stephen Zweig. Is that? I'm not really familiar with that author, but like, this is inspired by that person's work. They went and looked up old reference photos of hotels and things like that. Like, they just went crazy trying to recreate this world.
The way, and here, another thing I pulled up from Wikipedia about the reference photos. Like, I didn't realize this. There's in the 30s, like, chromostat or whatever. I wrote it down. Fucking, I'm not going to find it. Photochrome technique from like the early. So when they developed photography, they didn't have color photography. So what they would do is they would take the negatives. Like, someone would write down detailed notes about the colors of the photo that was taken, and then they would hand color the negatives and then create a color photograph from that. And that is the aesthetic that they chose. That's the color, like the palette that they chose for the movie. And so it's shit like that. You're like, whoa, okay, like,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's super cool, man. Like, and it's like, and it is love, like it, but it is a sort of like, it's a game of obsession and collection.
Yeah, I think a better way to express what I'm trying to express is that, like, this is a man who wants to share something with you in the hopes that maybe you'll find value in it too. And I have time for that. Like, I'm always going to be interested in that. If it's, if it's not coming from a place of like being put on. Yeah.
He's kind of like a Kurt Busiek. People referred to him as like the new sincerity. And I was like, what's that in American superhero comics? That's got to be... Yeah, that's Mark Waid. That's your Kurt Busiek. That's people who are looking at all the negativity and they're like, no, man, we got to turn that friend down. But
Busiek more so, though. I think Busiek's probably more successful at that. Yeah, there's just something seeking about him.
Yeah, not a great comparison, because Busiek's not a great anything. But
yeah,
it is.
I don't know.
Well, I've read all of his stuff, but I mean, like, have you read anything of his recently? Like,
hey, man, you're allowed to get old.
You usually get better as you get old.
No, that's not. No,
yeah, that's not usually the case.
I don't know. Wes Anderson's in his prime for this movie. In fairness,
So I think there's still lots of there's lots of blood in this old dog. That's what I was going to say. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
No. It's coined a saying.
Yeah. Lots of blood left in this old dog. Extinction agenda. I think that, I don't know. I like, he's still quite young, and he hasn't made a whole bunch of movies. He devotes a lot of his time to Roald Dahl, which is a thing in and of itself that I don't know how to make heads or tails of.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch those Netflix adaptations? Those little shorts?
No, I heard they're really good, though.
Yeah, me too. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to. They're probably awesome. They're probably so fucking good. But
the weird thing about this movie is that it made a shitload of money. Like, I think it was like 180 million on a $25 million budget.
I'm surprised it only cost 25 million to make that, but yeah, that appears to be the case. Yeah, Wikipedia gives that info.
Even looking at the sets, I was just blown away by how many sets they must have gone through. Like, and apparently they constructed like the older hotel, sorry, the 1960s hotel within the frame of the 30s hotel, or maybe vice versa. But like, they were like, he's like, can we like build that inside and then disassemble it like in a week? And his set designers were like, yes, we can do that. But like, like all the chases, all the environments that even when Jeff Goldblum is being chased, like there's a lot of fucking things going on. Yeah, the museum and everything. Yeah.
In the bits that I had read, it is largely like they just found really good sets. Like they found locations. Like a lot of it is making use of certain locations very efficiently. For instance, in the I don't know a whole lot about the Grand Budapest, but in Royal Tenenbaums, for instance, like a lot of different geographical locations were all filmed in the same building. But they would use different rooms to represent this space and so like that's probably why people give him money, because he has a fucking vision. He's crazy, but he'll come in at a budget, right? 25 million seems so cheap for a movie like this. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, they, their big action set was done with stop motion. Yeah. So there you go. That the ski chase, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Which again, something like that ought to really repel me. But and then I'm kind of thinking about like what problem to solve. He wants a car chase. How can he make the car chase? Well, what if it was a slalom? Where one person's on skis and the other person. I was like, okay, all right, whatever, fine. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. I think what sells that for me is the realization, of like what do we do when we catch him? Oh, we nothing. He's a raging psychopath. Let's stop. And
yes, that's right. And they can't.
The momentum. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the prison escape, the prison scenes?
I love Harvey Keitel.
It's amazing.
And the whole prison escape was hilarious, and I loved it. I think that was one of the Gustav moments where you were describing it, Chris. That his like general like life philosophy surrounds this ability to give service and play to what people want. Sort of like have this whole group of hardened criminals like just like open up like flowers to him and accept him in as he facilitates them all breaking out of prison, which he participates as well in.
But when he got to prison, he's all bloodied or whatever, and he's like, as we learned from these petty dreadfuls, you can't be a candy ass in this scenario. You should see the so like that's the sort of violence that is contained at, like underneath Gustav, like with all of the profanity and like the whiskeys and whores or something. The guy that he puts it's a veneer on him, but it's a veneer, like, Chris, you're not wrong. I mean, like, doesn't make it any less effective, but
he established himself as the biggest dog in the yard before.
Or at the very least that like he was a dog that you're not going to fuck with, and then so everybody's cool with him, and so then he ingratiates himself, right? So he's scrappy, right?
Yeah, I really like the symbolism of the their key to their plan. They have to bake in the escape tools into the cookies that
right.
Oh God, what's her name? Agatha sends. Yeah. The guard just can't, like, he just doesn't have the heart to like take it. Like every other food item gets like cut through. He just can't damage those cookies.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're the best. Like when Willem Dafoe is in the prison and he picks up the box and he's like, Mendel's. It's like it's the best of the land. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not sure if it. That we could easily talk about various performances and cameos and stuff like that, but is there anything sort of pressing?
No, except for that it reminded me of Four. I don't know why the movie Four Rooms came to me. I was watching
Well,
this.
because it's about a lobby guy, right? It is about a
Yeah,
lobby boy's adventures.
I guess
It
so.
seems
Yeah,
fair. Yeah,
I guess there's comparable Lobby Boy
Yeah.
Adventures.
yeah. I rewatched that recently. It was not, well, relatively recently. It was fine. You know, it's an anthology. It's all various different directors doing different stories with Tim Roth in the center of it, ending off with Quentin Tarantino. So it was more of a mixed bag than I remembered. Great ending, though. Just fucking chops that finger off, walks out. Beauty.
That fun movie.
So, James, the real question is, are you gonna let Wes Anderson back into your heart? Yes or no?
I'll go again. I'll go again because of this.
Okay. I don't do the French Dispatch or I'm gonna lose you forever. Don't even do it.
I know. I actually I'm looking at this one this 2023 Netflix one with what's this fucking British guy that I don't care for.
Couldn't tell you. Haven't seen him.
Asteroid City.
No.
No,
Is
the
that what it's
Netflix
called?
one.
Yeah.
You're Mr. Sugar or whatever.
Yes, Super Mr. Sugar.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well, that's the Roald Dahl stuff. You know, I don't know. I don't know what to think of that stuff. I love Fantastic Mr. Fox. I really liked Isle of Dogs. I thought it was strong.
Yeah.
But I think the combination of Netflix, the shittiness of, I'm concerned that I'm going to watch a Wes Anderson. It's going to look like a Netflix movie, and I kind of don't want to do that because I think I already saw that in the French Dispatch. I know I keep coming to that, but it just felt like such a digital event, and it probably wasn't, and it probably isn't. But I'm just concerned, and so I haven't done it because I'm a delicate flower.
Teddy told me that in Greek, nostalgia literally means the pain from an old wound. It's a twinge in your heart, far more powerful than memory alone. This device isn't a spaceship. It's a time machine. It goes backwards and forwards. It takes us to a place where we ache to go again. It's not called the wheel. It's called the carousel. It lets us travel the way a child travels. Round and around, and back home again. To a place where we know we are